So we've just got, these are just some of my clinical photos. So the other version was from Rhodium, but Rhondium. So my first experience with One Visit Crown was, I think it was in 2016. There's a company that they wanted to actually look at maybe selling the product. And so the first version was an indirect version. So I had this case, I did some resin veneers on the uppers, and she always wanted her lower teeth done. So I thought it was probably a good idea to trial the kit there. So the first thing I did was obviously build up, she wanted the lower veneers, so I did 3:3 direct composites. And if you build them up, then she's not going to be able to bite on the back teeth. So I scanned the lower arch. That's her pre-treatment. You can see that, why would I want to prep these teeth? I didn't want to prep them. So I scanned them after the lower veneers were done. So that means we've got some space now for the OVCs. So I used the key selector to choose the size of the OVCs. And then in the OVC 1 version, there was separating medium. You paint that on the model, and then you construct your OVCs. And I made them, I joined them, and then I sectioned them. Then I checked the bite, adjusted them, and they were ready to be, I polished them, then they were ready to be inserted. So I brought the patient back, I cleaned the teeth, I etched and I bonded, and then I started from the back and I did one tooth at a time. So end up doing this. You can see this 7 has just the OVC, and but she then wanted these veneered, so I had to do some resin veneers on these 6 other teeth. So this is the before and after. So you can see when she bites down now, we've opened up her bite. So from that experience, it wasn't a very good experience because I'm not designed to be a technician. And so I just felt that it wasn't a great product for majority of dentists, because a lot of dentists don't want to do that outside of their work hours. But then Simon, to his credit, has improved it. So OVC2 was when they had a direct band, and then OVC3 was an improvement on that band now. So the band you see today is now the new band. So we had a similar case that came in. Again, she wanted now to have a lower teeth done. She had a very deep bite, such that the lower incisor super erupted. And so she wanted to obviously improve the appearance. When she smiles and speaks, she can see the lower teeth. So same thing, I did the 3:3. I had her in temporaries posteriorly. Got her comfortable, brought her back in. And this was 4 hours. We did 7 OVCs. And then I also had to veneer 6 of them. So this is the bite. We opened up her bite. And there was 4 and 3 on this side. So for these type of cases now, because I originally quoted her $1,450 per tooth. So 1,450 times 7, you're talking about, what, $10,000 as opposed to the $950. So she saved $500 per tooth, and multiply that by 7, she saved $3,500. So she was quite happy of that alternative. My first direct case was an upper premolar, tooth 2-4. This patient, I can tell you, never wanted to spend more than $1,000. Overlays were an issue. He would rather have temporary. So he had this defective DO on the upper 4. It was subgingival. I etched bond, placed the flowable, and look the mistake I made. I cured it with that subgingival wedge that's away from the tooth. I should have held it against the adjacent tooth, because after curing, I had a big space available. So I had to then go and sort of redo that, because maybe that gentleman there, that this is the problem then. I had that big defect because I didn't lay that against it. So I had to then go and add back some more composite before I put the band on. So the band went on, and then the mistake the early version said you spot cure it for 15 seconds. A premolar, once you cure it through the light radiates because it's a smaller tooth. So 15 seconds, I actually set the whole material. But, it's just excess material. You just have to polish and remove it. So it just spent a bit more time. But nonetheless, not a big problem. Patient was extremely happy. So this patient was a deferred patient. He's got other temporaries, so he's now going to look at replacing the other ones with OVCs. So a good reason why you should reactivate those deferred crown patients. Another case, this has a fracture. You can't see it obviously. There's a fracture in that remaining lingual cusp. Again, cost was an issue. and we did an OVC in the 4-7. We've got very little tooth structure left. And this patient travelled from Balranald, which is 6 hours away. She had a lot of caries, an adult. She had caries in the upper 6. I removed all the caries, so obviously you've got different, depth cavities. That's probably extremely deep. I used the subgingival wedge to build up that base. You can see there, I can see that there's a good adaptation of the wedge to that margin. No bleeding, etched bond, quite simple. Built it up, supragingivally, took out the wedge, and then I placed the OVC band. And this was taken after I did the final curing. And there's only little bits of excess, and that's very easy to polish with the disc. So she drove 6 hours, 1 hour trip, and then she drove 6 hours back. Yeah.
These crowns that we're doing, so with all these benefits, what would be an indication for a lab-made crown?
What good question. Does your patient want to come back twice? Unless they love you and want to see you more, that's one indication. Yeah. If I got an upper 8 and I can't get in there with my fingers, then possibly a lab-produced crown. Yeah. Yeah, unless a patient wants, patient says, I want to see 30 different colours in that crown. Well, unless you want to, you can still customise it, but yeah, I can't see it's a major issue now.
How about for replacing an old full coverage?
I've got that. Just wait, Leighton. So this is another 4-7. You can see cracked tooth issues, cracked tooth syndrome. That's got a crack under there. We end up we overlaid this whole tooth with a really easy case because there's no adjacent teeth. So the band just went on, no problems, no stretch wedges. This is the one I said I had a beautiful Emax crown on this tooth. It was done last year, and it was a lab-produced Emax crown. And I was in such a shock that he fractured the back corner, and then he fractured the whole tooth. And, the crown stuck beautifully to the tooth, but at the wrist it actually fractured the tooth, because this is a root-filled tooth. A root-treated tooth, they say, has about 11% less moisture. And I always say that when you take the nerve out, your tooth is like a dead branch. It's brittle, whereas a vital tooth has the ability to flex and mould. So I'm really cautious about doing, if you have an RCT and you go and place a traditional crown, you're going to cut a lot more away, but you should be overlaying these, right? Buccal and lingual cusp. But I was so shocked. So I did an OVC. I couldn't get access because that's equigingival. So I actually used TCA to expose the margin. Once I could see the margin, I placed, this is a automatrix band. And I just want to make sure I could seal that area. I wasn't worried about this here. I placed the automatrix, etched and bonded that area. I couldn't see daylight, so I placed the flowable composite. I built that base up. And then I placed the OVC band on that. But that tooth was the 2-7, and notice I used the 4-6 large OVC. So at the time I didn't have it. So it's better to order the big pack and be prepared, because Murphy's Law, when they come in, it's never the one you ordered, right, that comes in. So, but I adapted it to, and I don't think you could have tell that was a 4-6 instead of a 2-7. Patient was extremely happy. So certainly when you do root canal therapy, I would suggest that you do something, protect those cusps, right? Band or OVC. Nice radiograph. Leighton, there you go. This patient, an older gentleman, had an old PFM, fractures. He obviously had the root canal therapy after the crown was put in. It doesn't show you here, but he had a big buccal composite in this case. So what I did, I took up, there's the composite. When I removed, there's actually no caries in this tooth. It's discoloured because of the root canal, but it was getting towards close to the gum. So I put the trichloroacetic acid. I probably thought the OVC is probably not going to reach there, or the band. I'm going to have trouble putting the band on because it's a traditional crown. So I built up the buccal freehand. There was a lingual wall and proximal wall, so I was not worried about placing the OVC band there. So I freehand built this. It didn't take long because you got good access to the 4-6. And then once I did that, I could easily place the OVC band in there with the stretch wedge, OVC in, cleaned it up, spot cured it, and there's my result. So you can't see where I've placed the composite. The composite's somewhere here, and the OVC's in this part here. So this gentleman's retired. So forget, you know, when you talk to retired patients, patients that are retired always say, I can't afford to have crowns anymore because I'm no longer working. And so I think that's a good group to offer that alternative cost. Does that answer your question? So, yeah. Another one where it's fractured. The buccal cusp fractured. Again, can I put an OVC band there? Possibly not. I didn't try, but I thought it may be far easier to use that Kerr band that I showed earlier in the lecture. If you don't like crimping that band, you can actually cut the band off and put the OVC band in a Toffelmeyer, right? So I've used a different type of band, but in a Toffelmeyer, but I've used the stretch wedge because I wanted to more or less build this up at the same time I put the OVC in. So I placed some composite in the buccal, and then I put the OVC on top of it. So I've got that already, that shape of the tooth created through the band.
So then you built the buccal.
I built the buccal first with the band in place.
And then you lowered the whole tooth
and then I put the OVC, cured it, put the OVC on top. Check the occlusion. Luckily, it was out of occlusion, so that's not an issue. And I know those on DPR have seen this case. I caused quite a stir. I think they just like to criticise people. I mean, I saw one of the comments, one said, why would you go to the trouble putting a crown? He didn't realise that, and that's a testament to to Simon's product. He thought this was a traditional crown, I think. So, you know, you've got to know the full story. This guy's retired. He's had implants. What do I do with this normally? I don't do anything with them. I just put glass iron on it. I'm too scared to do something to it. There's those of you who have done that. I didn't do the root canal, but he obviously didn't follow up. I can tell you his previous dentist didn't believe in crowns, so he did patch-up dentistry, and that failed. And I had a glass ionomer there, and I thought, geez, there's an OVC here. And I asked him, I said, are you willing to take a chance? It's not going to cost you the same cost as a traditional crown, but I put a post in there. This one's still vital. I could put a band around that. So what I did with this one, because I couldn't get comfortably put an OVC band there. So I had a little sectional band. I cut it, and I actually placed the band, after I etched and bonded and I cleaned it up, there was a post in the distal. I was able to put the band in the sulcus, and that just held the band in there. And I then placed flowable composite in a small increment, cured it, took it out, put a little sectional band in this portion, flowable, cured it, and then moved the band around. I was just basically building the base of that tooth so that then I could put the OVC band in there. So, and then there was a comment on does anyone follow that? There was about 23 comments. Did you have a radiograph? I didn't, but then he came in a month ago and I took a radiograph of that tooth and it's still there. So it's lasted about 2 months now, and I'm going to wait. I'll show that in 20 years' time. I'm only joking. But nonetheless, look, I offered him a lower cost option and he accepted it. I'm not going to say that it's going to last because I don't know, but at least I gave him the option to give him a functioning tooth. So those of you who are new or new graduates, Julie Pham works with our practice. This patient did the ring around. So I'm never going to be the cheapest dentist, right? There's always going to be a cheaper dentist. So my crowns are at $1,850, my onlays are $1,450, my OVCs are $950. So she did the ring around. So we instructed the front desk to tell them that, oh, how much does a crown cost? Well, that depends. We have crowns starting from $950 to $1,850, and that confuses them. But they always hear the smaller figure. So she booked in, I did the consultation, and she said, my dentist told me I need a crown and I just want the $950 crown. So I booked in with Julie, and Julie, I'm going to get you to come up. She doesn't want to come up, but maybe Julie can go through the case a bit more specifically, because I think it's better to hear it from Julie. So Julie's graduated in 2013 from Adelaide, so I don't know are there any Adelaide graduates here? Okay. All right, Julie. She's been put on the spot. So you can use that mic, Julie. So tell us what happened, because I wasn't there that day. But Julie was so excited that she sent me the photos. I mean, look at that. Beautiful carving, Julie. Thanks to Simon. And I love this photo that Julie took. That's beautiful. Okay, tell me about what happened.
So she came in for the OVC. When you do something new, you always get really nervous about it, but I was quite surprised. It was pretty intuitive. Most of the procedures you've already done before, like you said, with the V-ring, burnishing the margins and whatnot. So
Today's lecture, did you follow all those steps?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is my second OVC. I've only ever done one before in a plastic model, so...
Okay, yeah.
I was very surprised that it polished really well, it went in really well.
But you were happy, you were pretty excited with the result, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I messaged you straight away.
Yeah, straight away I got this. So I thought, I've got to, and I said to Simon, I've got to include it, Simon, because I think Julie's first one, mine didn't look any as good as that. That's why I thought, and maybe it's Adelaide graduates do better work than Melbourne graduates, I don't know, but I think it's a testimony that did you have to do any adjustments?
Very little.
Doesn't look like it, does it?
No. I think, like you said, you put the, what's it called, the jig?
The replica?
The replica in, and you check the reductions, and like it was, yeah.
Right. Any questions for Julie? It was a small, wasn't it? 1/6 small.
Yeah.
Apparently Julie said you couldn't find the 1/6, did you?
Because you used all of the 1/6 crowns. There was only a large, and I think before we found the 1/6 small, I was going to use a quadrant 3 OVC.
Yeah.
So like a 3/6, but luckily I found one like in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Julie. Yeah. Thanks for coming out.
So you build up the fracture proportion for
Yeah.
reducing the rest of the tooth.
So I didn't use an auto matrix. I just used the same
OVC.
the OVC matrix, etch bond, flowable, normal composite. I think we could have used like SDI or
SDR, yeah.
or what's it called?
Genial
the
flow.
Genial Universal
Yeah.
Flow. But that's how I do it.
Nice result. Yeah, thanks. So you can all do it. If I could, I've made it. So actually, funny, this week I've learned more than you guys. I've probably done a lot of things that I didn't actually lecture about because I think the good thing about this course and having Simon here, Simon's kept me straight on the straight. And I've learned more in this 4 days than I'd probably, because that's why I said, I always believe that you make mistakes and learn. Thanks, Julie. And I'm always embarrassed that a graduate like Julie can do better work. That's why I had to put it up there.